Ladies and gentlemen, we are under attack. Our very way of life, our very existence is threatened. They have already taken over Washington. They continue to destroy our Constitution. It is time to take back our country now.
The Wise Conservative Show, bringing wisdom back to politics.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wise Conservative Show. I am your host, Connor Wise. We have a full episode here prepared for you today. So today we're going to be talking about all of these recent developments in the election cycle. Now, most recently, the Cruz campaign has done a lot of different changes into their campaign. I know that you've probably already heard a lot about this. It was a few days ago. Kasich and Cruz have actually started working together to block a Trump nomination. Now, I know a lot of Trump supporters are angry with Cruz about this. They're claiming that it's just proof that he's establishment. Well, that's not the case, really. You see, Kasich and Cruz are not campaigning together. All they've done is divvied up the remaining states so that they can each go 1v1 against Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself has wanted a 1v1 battle against a different candidate for a long time. This is not Ted Cruz working with the establishment, as so many Trump supporters are saying that he is doing. No, this is Ted Cruz playing the campaign very smartly. Once again, we see that Ted Cruz goes above and beyond and figures out what is the best choice and figures out what is the best option for his campaign. He has run a very smart campaign up until this point, and he will continue to run a smart campaign. This Kasich and Cruz alliance, if you will, is quite honestly should have happened sooner, and this is something that really is necessary. Because right now, I do not see Donald Trump winning in the general election. Now, if he is the nominee, of course I will vote for him. But I feel like Cruz has a better chance just because he actually has policies. Donald Trump continues to claim that this is something against everything that Ted Cruz is really campaigning on. Trust, anti-establishment. And his supporters feel the same way. And what I've noticed over the course of this presidential election is that Trump supporters are very vocal. They will let you know if they don't agree with something, and they will continue to bombard you with these comments. Now, most of the time, these comments are just one-liners, taking after their candidate, Donald Trump. And most of the time they're yelling. I've seen constantly that these Trump supporters are using ad hominem attacks in place of where there should be actual substance in a debate. They're just using these one-liners or insults that Trump himself often uses. But right now we're talking about Cruz. So let's move on to something else that Cruz has recently done. Now, actually just today, a few hours ago, Cruz announced that if he does win the nomination, that he's going to choose Carly Fiorina as his running mate. Now, I feel that this was a very smart move from Cruz. He is in a very heated battle to try and stop Trump from getting that 1237, and Carly Fiorina has picked up a lot of support along the way. Carly Fiorina was one of the she was in the top 3 at a certain point in this presidential election. She is outspoken, she is liked by a lot of people, and she's proven that she's a good leader. This will definitely help stop Trump from reaching that 1237. But most importantly, Carly Fiorina is from California. Now, as we all know, California has a huge amount of delegates. California is a very vital state to have if we're trying to stop Trump or even if Trump is trying to get the nomination. Carly Fiorina, being from California, is going to greatly help the Cruz campaign. is going to greatly help Cruz block the nomination from Trump. Once again, Ted Cruz and his campaign are playing it very smartly. They know how these campaigns are supposed to be run, and they're running them exactly like that. I know that usually candidates don't choose a running mate so early in the election, but this was a very smart move at this moment, especially because he did it in Indiana when he was trying to gain more support in the state, another vital state to have if he wants to stop Donald Trump. And him announcing it in Indiana is quite honestly going to gain him a lot of support. He is going to gain a lot of support within the next few weeks after this. We've seen it from the very beginning. Ted Cruz knows what will get more voters. Ted Cruz knows what is smart. We see it with him collecting all the delegates, going around and having them pledge to be his. That was smart by his campaign. We saw it when he teamed up with Kasich. That was smart for his campaign. And now we're seeing it when he's announcing a running mate this early because it is the smart time to do it. I've heard a lot of people, not just from Democrats, but also from other conservatives, I've heard a lot of them saying that this was a desperate attempt. Now, I don't think this was desperate whatsoever. I just think this was smart. There are a lot of different things that Ted Cruz could have done to try and secure more votes. This was not desperate whatsoever. This was him using his brain. This was him thinking about the problem in front of him. This was him figuring out a solution. A skill that we need in the next president of the United States. A skill that Ted Cruz has shown time after time he has, and a skill that Ted Cruz will bring to the presidency. I have not seen this amount of decision-making and good decision-making from any other candidate. Ted Cruz, quite honestly, has the best campaign. He has the most solid campaign. He might not be the front runner right now. He can't even secure the nomination without going into a contested convention. But he definitely has the most advanced campaign there is in this entire presidential election. I mean, if he can secure California, which this gives him a good boost in California, if he can secure California, then he pretty much ensures that Donald Trump does not reach 1237, the amount of delegates that he needs for the nomination. And it's almost a guarantee if we go to a contested convention and the establishment doesn't nominate one of their goons, that Ted Cruz will come out the nominee. Because he has worked with the delegates so that he can secure the nomination from a contested convention. Just as I said before, just as I will continue to say for the rest of this presidential race, Ted Cruz is running a very smart campaign. A very smart campaign that is a winning campaign. If he goes into the general election from a contested convention, I can guarantee that in the debates, he will show that Hillary Clinton does not know what she's talking about. He will show that he is the better option. He thrives in debates. He's done debates for a very long time, and quite honestly, he is one of the best debaters that have been on the stage. Ted Cruz, I know a lot of people don't think that this could happen, but I really do believe that Ted Cruz would do very well in a general election against Hillary Clinton. He polls way better in general election polls than Donald Trump does. He polls better than Kasich because, well, quite honestly, no one wants to vote for Kasich. Ted Cruz has the best shot at defeating Hillary Clinton in the general election. But then you have some people, the Trump people, who say that Ted Cruz is too extreme, that Ted Cruz will never poll the moderates, he will never win a general election. Now, I just don't agree with that. I don't agree that the majority of Americans will not see that he is obviously a much better choice than Hillary Clinton. He has actual policies that will actually work laid out. He has a tax plan that will save so many Americans on so much money. He has a foreign policy that will work. Ted Cruz has planned all of this out in advance so that he can thrive in a general election. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has not planned out any of this, as we can see from a speech that he did today. Today he gave a speech that was dedicated to foreign policy, a foreign policy which he calls America First. Now, in this speech, he was trying to act more presidential. He was reading off of a teleprompter, actually. And I read a lot of different stories about people who went there. I really didn't see much that people were praising him about at this. Even from really anywhere I looked, I tried to really find something that people were praising him for, and I couldn't find it. Everywhere I looked, they said that Donald Trump did not have substance in his speech. Everywhere I looked, all they said that this prepared speech, it was prepared, and he still didn't have substance. He still only used one-liners. This is why I'm worried about a Donald Trump nomination. Because throughout this entire election cycle, he has not given substance. He has said one-liners for entertainment value throughout the entire cycle. He has refused to go into depth on any policy. He talked about he kind of touched on a plan for defeating ISIS. This is all he said on it. That we are going to, quote, be strong in fighting ISIS. What does that mean? How many troops are we going to send over? Are we even going to send over troops? Are we going to have a coalition? What is the plan? At this point in an election, you should have a plan worked out and ready for every single American to see. But throughout this entire cycle, he has time after time refused to actually lay out a plan for anything. He does not have details on anything. He is just basing everything on entertainment value. That is not something that a president of the United States would ever do. He also talked about what he would do in foreign policy in regards to Russia. He said that we would negotiate, quote, from a position of power. Again, that's it. He did not even mention, all of the different details about the issues with Russia. He did not touch on the economic sanctions that we have put on Russia for their invasion of Ukraine. He didn't even mention Ukraine. When you are talking about the issues with Russia, that is the number one thing that has to come up, because that is what started these sanctions that we put on them. That is what started this entire conflict in recent history. Their invasion in Ukraine is a huge event in foreign policy. And we don't know where Donald Trump stands on that. We don't know if he wants to help Ukraine gain their freedom. We don't know if he wants to add more sanctions. We don't know if he wants to take off sanctions. We don't know anything. What does negotiate from a position of power even mean? What does it mean, people? Well, I'm pretty sure none of us could tell, because Donald Trump has not given any detail about this in the debates, in his speeches, in anything. Now, he also mentioned China. And all he said about this was that we would deal with China quickly. Now, he didn't go into details about tariffs. He didn't go into details about trade agreements. And he didn't go into detail about something that he's talked about for this entire campaign, about how we're going to bring companies back to America. I don't think he has a plan for this. Just like everything else, he uses one-liners so that people feel like he has a solution, when in fact he does not. Donald Trump does not have the solution that so many people think he does. Donald Trump has not thought this campaign out. Donald Trump needs to think this out, because if he is our nominee, he will have to go head-to-head against Hillary Clinton in debates. He has to have full-proof, detailed plans when he is going against Hillary Clinton in a debate. Now, I'm not worried like some people are about him acting presidential in these debates, because he's shown through a few different speeches that he can contain himself and act more presidential. But what I am worried about is him not having any details on any plan whatsoever. About him not working out any solution. Because if he goes into that general election and continues to just say these one-liners, we're going to make America great again, we're going to build a wall and have Mexico pay for it. If that's all he says, he will not win the general election. If that's all he says, we will have Hillary Clinton as our president for the next 4, maybe even the next 8 years. We cannot take that chance. We cannot take that chance if he does not come up with this plan. Don't go anywhere, guys. I'll be back after this quick commercial break.
The idea behind Youth Revolt is to let them, these liberal professors, let them know that we are here and we're ready to fight.
Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
This is Dakota Wise, co-host of The Wise Conservative Show, here with an exclusive preview.
I can guarantee that all of these illegal executive actions that President Obama has tried to take would be ruled legal, and the president would be allowed to legislate instead of executing the law that the Congress and the American people have put up in front of him.
For more content, find us at Spreaker.com/TheWiseConservative.
Tune in to Millennials Rising, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday nights, for a conservative outlook on pop culture and American politics. Together we can reinstitute values back into our nation's young people and help create an alternative path away from the mainstream liberal agenda. Tune in to Millennials Rising, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday nights, only on Youth Revolt. How's it going, everyone? Jason Veely here. I want to tell you about YouthRevolt.org, the ultimate media network for young conservatives. Youth Revolt features a lineup of young radio hosts, columnists, and video bloggers. These are some of the most courageous and articulate millennials out there. Give them some support and check out YouthRevolt.org. YouthRevolt.org. Speak without fear.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. Once again, I am your host, Connor Wise. Now, so before the break, we were talking about Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the Democrat Party. We're going to talk about how Bernie is actually laying off 200 campaign staffers. Over 200, actually. Now, recently, Bernie Sanders has been experiencing a lot of losses in the primary election. Last night, he lost 4 out of the 5 states. And quite honestly, his campaign is way too big for what he has now. At one point, he had over 1,000 staffers on his campaign. That's a lot. And now he's laying off 200. He's going to be down to around 250 staffers left in his campaign. Now, this really just shows that Bernie Sanders knows that he really doesn't have a chance anymore. Hillary Clinton has secured over 90% of the required delegates for the nomination. Yes, this does include superdelegates, but let's be honest, those superdelegates are not going to switch over to Bernie Sanders all of a sudden. Bernie Sanders is too anti-establishment for that to happen. Now, Bernie Sanders only has 57% of the required delegates. So it's really obvious that his campaign can't win this. It's really obvious that Bernie Sanders isn't going to be the nominee. It's obvious that Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee, going against whoever we nominate. And quite honestly, that's why this election is very important. Hillary Clinton, I feel like, would be an even worse president than Bernie Sanders would be. Because Bernie Sanders would not be able to pass any of this legislation that he's promising. Free healthcare, free college, this would not pass through a conservative Congress. This quite honestly wouldn't even pass through a Democratic Congress. It is very extreme, and it would not pass. So I feel like Bernie Sanders would quite honestly be a better, last resort than Hillary Clinton. Because Hillary Clinton has promised that she is going to continue President Barack Obama's policies, and Hillary Clinton has promised that she is going to further Barack Obama's policies. These policies that have left America more divided and more angry at the government and at each other than at any other point in American history besides the Civil War. Our country has suffered under the presidency of Barack Obama. He has initiated these different programs such as Obamacare that have hurt thousands of Americans. His foreign policy has been complete trash. And Hillary Clinton was the one running that foreign policy for a very long time as Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton is the reason why we have 4 men who died in the attacks on Benghazi. These 4 men that she doesn't even acknowledge. She recently said, I believe it was last month or the month before, but she said that we lost no lives in Libya. I don't know what is wrong with that woman, but she seems to lie any chance she gets. She's a pathological liar. She has time after time proven that she does not actually care about America, but she cares about power. She does not care about you or me. She cares about whatever influence she has in the government. That is the only reason why she is running for president. Because she wants to gain more power. Power over the greatest country on this earth. Power over the most powerful country on this earth. And that is why this election is very important. And that's quite honestly why I've been critiquing Donald Trump so much. Because this is a very important election. And if Donald Trump doesn't get his act together before a general election, if he is the nominee, then we are not going to have a conservative or a Republican in the president's office. And that could be very devastating. It could be very devastating if we have a liberal in there, because they are going to be nominating the next Supreme Court justice. They're going to be nominating a lot of different things, policies even that could, quite honestly, destroy America. Liberals have proven that they want to limit our military, that they want to continue to decrease the size of our military, when we cannot afford to have our military decreased anymore. Under President Barack Obama, he has decreased the military time after time. Under Hillary Clinton, she would do the same. This is why Donald Trump has to get his act together, and this is why right now I am supporting Ted Cruz. Because he does have his act together. Because he knows what it takes to win a general election. Because he knows what it takes to keep America on the right tracks, to keep America the way our founding fathers intended it to be. I quite honestly cannot tell you if Donald Trump knows how to do that. Now, I'm sure he will have very good experts. I mean, he's been working in business for a very long time. He had to have advisors that are very smart helping him. And I guarantee he will have them on his cabinet. So that part I'm not really worried about. I'm not really worried about a Donald Trump presidency. What I'm worried about is the general election. He has to be able to get his act together, or else we're going to be stuck with a woman who should be in prison. Or else we're going to be stuck with a woman who has broken the law and walked away from it. A woman who has killed innocent Americans in Benghazi. Donald Trump has to get his act together. What I've noticed recently is that a lot of media has actually been switching their support towards the nominee, towards Trump. I've seen this a lot on Fox and on different websites for news. And I mean, it's odd because throughout the early stages of the election, Donald Trump really didn't have any media support. But as time goes on, he actually gains a lot of media support. But what I don't like about this is that the media is now disregarding Ted Cruz. Just as I mentioned earlier, they are saying that his recent acts of saying that Carly Fiorina would be his VP is desperate. They continue to say that he's just trying to desperately attempt to take more delegates. And this isn't just on, liberal news agencies. This is even on Fox. It's astounding the amount of people who are anti-Cruz now. And I don't know where it came from. Now, I know a lot of Cruz supporters would either vote for Donald Trump or Ted Cruz, depending on who the nominee is. But when I look at Donald Trump supporters, most of them have said that they will not vote for Ted Cruz. That is a mistake, people. It is a mistake to not vote for a conservative in this election. If Donald Trump isn't the nominee after we go to a contested convention, if Ted Cruz ends up being the nominee, you have to vote for him. Because as I said earlier, if you don't, we will be stuck with a criminal in the office. We cannot afford that. Folks, this is a very important election. This election decides the fate of America. You cannot be so petty as to not vote for a proven conservative. If you want Trump, that is great. Vote for him in the primaries, vote for him in whatever you want to vote for him in. But once it comes to the general election, if he is not our nominee, if Ted Cruz is instead the nominee, it is essential that all of you Trump supporters vote for Ted Cruz as well. Just as it is essential for all of the Ted Cruz supporters, myself included, should vote for Donald Trump if he is the nominee. The divide in our party is going to ruin our chances in a general election. This divide has gone too long. This divide has gotten too deep. I'm not asking you to support an establishment-chosen candidate. I'm not asking you to support an establishment candidate whatsoever. I'm just asking you to support the two anti-establishment candidates in this race. The two candidates that time after time have proven that they care about what the people want. That way, we can keep a woman who does not care about America out of the Oval Office. So before you vote in the general election this November, think about that. Think about the fact that if you do not vote for whoever our nominee is, whether it be Ted Cruz or Donald Trump, if you do not vote for those two, then we're going to have Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States of America. Take that into account when you fill out your ballot this upcoming November. Think about that as you choose the next leader of the free world. That's all I have time for this episode of The Wise Conservative. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Connor Wise. Tune in next time on The Wise Conservative Show.